So good morning, students. So today we'll start with the first video of August 2000. So this is on the 9th unit in your text course book. I believe that books will never disappear. It's a very important lesson. It is an interview between Roberto Alifano and George Luis Borges. So shortly, Alifano and Borges. So in exams you can write only Alifano and Borges. So there is a difference between an interview and a chatting. You all know what is chatting. Chatting is almost a personal thing. But this is an official interview. You might have seen in companies and many places we have interviews. So this is an interview taken by Alifano with George Luis Borges. So today I'll give the introduction and also the summary. The next class will go in detail. So this is an interview by Roberto Alifano with George Luis Borges. Borges is an Argentine short story writer, essayist, poet and translator. His works embrace the character of unreality in all literature. His short stories deal with common themes including dreams, libraries, mirrors, infinity, philosophy, religion and God. Alifano is also an Argentine poet, storyteller, essayist and a journalist. His books have been translated into several languages. He worked with Borges and conducted an interview on an important topic. I believe that books will never disappear. It is an excerpt from 24 Conversations with Borges. So this is taken from the 24 Conversations with Borges. I'll give a short summary so that you understand. It's a bit tough lesson only, but you have to follow deeply. Just like Vandana Shiva's lesson, you have to go deeply, otherwise you won't be able to answer. This also, there are different topics in which they are dealing. Okay, let us start. Alifano begins his interview with Borges and the first question was, what was his first literary reading? So, Alifano asked Borges, what was your first literary reading? Borges replies that his first literary reading was Grimm's Fairy Tales in an English version. So it was Grimm's Fairy Tales in an English version. He said that he was educated by his father's library more than by a high school or the university. That means he was spending lot of time in his father's library. He read lot of books. That is why he was more educated in his father's library than the school or the university. Then Roberto asked Borges to tell about his mother. Then Borges replies that his mother was an extraordinary person. She was very kind and he always remembered her kindness. And he felt guilty for not having been a happy man in order to have given her the deserved happiness. This is quite common. Till the mother dies, children don't understand their value. But after the death, they realize, so I should have done that, I should have done this, they start feeling. Same thing happened with Borges. He felt guilty because he had not given her the deserved happiness. As a mother, he should have given her a lot of happiness. He should have fulfilled her ambitions. That he did not do. And that is why he feels guilty. It is true of all children. Then he says that it is not only in my case, it is true of all children that when their mother dies, they feel that they have taken her for granted, as we do with the moon or the sun or the seasons. See, for example, we never think, oh, when will the sun rise, when will the sun set? This is normal. We take it for granted. Morning the sun will rise, evening the sun will set. Again, even, what is that? The seasons. Seasons come one by one. Winter, spring, summer, autumn. It goes on changing. We just don't start thinking. We take them for granted. The sun also, the moon also, the seasons also. They feel that they have abused her. It's very common. After the death of the mother, the children, they realize that they have not given her the deserved happiness. They have sometimes abused her. It does not dawn on them before her death. Till the mother dies, this doesn't come into their mind. They don't bother. Particularly, as you all know, when a son gets married, he is towards the wife only. He does not care for the mother. And when the mother dies, then he realizes, oh, I have lost something great, treasure. She was great to me. She was suffered for me. She gave me so many things. So this all comes into the mind. That's all what Borges tells, that he felt guilty that he had not given her the deserved happiness. And it is true in the case of all children. Only when the mother dies, they realize this. His mother was intelligent and a gracious woman who had no enemies. So the 4-mark questions they ask, what is the opinion of Borges about his mother? When I come to the text, we'll deal detail with that. Then the interview continues. Then Alifano asked Borges about his blindness. See, he was nearly 83 years old and he has become blind. So Alifano asks him, what do you think of your blindness? Then Borges replies that it is a way of life. It's not something to be sad about. It is a way of life, not entirely unhappy. See, not entirely unhappy. As you all know, in mathematics also, double negative becomes positive. Similarly, not unhappy means quite happy. Sometimes, we say this is good. Sometimes we say this is not bad. Not bad is double negative. It amounts to positive meaning. So similarly, not entirely unhappy. Everyone should think that whatever happens to him or her is a resource. You have to go and understand deeply. If you got the textbooks, please follow. Otherwise, follow this thing. See, whatever happens to anybody, whatever happens to you, you must think that it is a resource. It is given by God. We should not feel sad about that. That means, though he has become blind, he does not become very sad. You must remember about John Milton, one of the greatest poets in English. So, he became blind. When he became blind, he accepted that it is from God. God has given so many talents. And he accepted this also. Then still he started writing big poems. The Paradise Lost, Paradise Regained, big poem, thousands of lines after he became blind. Similarly, Borges also tells, blindness is a way of life. Then all things have been given to us for a purpose. Whatever is given to us, it is with a purpose. God has got some purpose with us, intention. For example, all the humiliations, misfortunes and embarrassments. When we come to the text, I will explain detail what are humiliations, what are misfortunes, what are embarrassments. They are given to us as raw materials, as clay, so that we may shape our art. See, they are just given us like a clay. If you give clay to somebody, somebody may just throw it away. Somebody may make it into a doll. Somebody may make it into a something about idols or gods or something. That means it can be made into anything. Similarly, all the humiliations, all the misfortunes, and all the embarrassments, they are all given to us as clay, so that we may shape our art. We can do anything with that. Next, Alifano refers to the Greek writer Homer. Homer is one of the greatest Greek writers who wrote the Odyssey. Odyssey is a very famous writing by Homer. In that, he tells the gods wrought and spun the skein of ruin for men. Wrought, ring, wrought, W-R-I-N-G. That means spinning. The gods wrought and spun the skein of ruin for men. See, God has made a rope. And what is that? A skein of ruin. To destroy the people or give custard to the people, that there might be a song for those yet to be born. That means so that there may be a lesson for the future generation. See, we have to think about the past. Some people had difficulties, so that present generation should see and learn about from that. That's what he says. This is a famous line from Odyssey, written by the Greek writer Homer. The gods wrought and spun the skein of ruin for men, that there might be a song for those yet to be born. Now Borges refers to one of his poems in which he says that humiliation, misfortune and discord, bin avipraya, discord were given to us so that we may transmute them and make from the miserable circumstances of our life eternal works, or works that aspire to be so. It's a bit tough, but you please understand. See, in one of Borges' poems, he himself has written, what is that? That all the humiliation, all the misfortunes, and all the discord, they are given to us so that we may transmute them. Transmute means total change. We can convert them, transmute them into something, eternal works, which can be eternal, which aspire to be so. Then again he refers to words from Goethe. Goethe is a famous German writer and philosopher, German writer. In that, the words are like this: alles nahe word fern. This is a German language, which means all that is near becomes far. It's very important. Goethe is saying that all that is near becomes far. For example, mother thinks that the son is everything to her. My son is always with me. He likes me, loves me, he will do anything for me. But after the marriage, she realizes that the son is going away from me. That means whatever we think, it is ours. It is not ours. This is an example of relationships in our lives. And Goethe, the German writer, tells this. What is that? All that is near becomes far. Here Goethe refers to the sunset. See, sunrise and sunset, if you go onto the top of the house and see, they look very near. Because why? Because the sky is round. Because of that we see very, very near. But in fact it is not near. In the afternoon the sun is very, very far. In the evening again, the sunset, it looks very near to us. It is the same. Morning, afternoon, evening, the sun is at the same distance from the earth. But it looks like that. That is what Goethe refers to. It refers to the sunset, but also to the life. In life also, sometimes what we think is near to us is not at all near, it is quite far. Amele, Borges has become blind, but it has been replaced by other things. See, though he is blind, it is replaced by other things. Practical life only, you might have seen. Some blind people, they are very, very sharp. Suppose you go and give to him a 50 rupee note and say this is 500. He will just touch it and say, no, it is only 50. That means their other senses are very sharp. That's what he says. And then, it is his duty is to accept and enjoy those things. So his duty is not to feel sad. He must accept whatever has come to him and then enjoy those things. He pretends that he is not blind. He pretends that he is not blind. He does not want anybody's help. He is doing everything on his own and still buys books and fills his house with the books. Still he continues to buy a lot of books, forgetting that he is blind. He does not want to remember that he is blind. So he still buys books and keeps in his library. Next, Alifano refers to an important topic, that is the theme of books. So we all read about books, but there is something about the book. Then Borges tells that he had a very strange dream on the previous night. So Borges replies, I too had a big dream. What is the dream? A big library was burning. That is the burning of the great library of Alexandria. If you remember Alexandria in history, it's a very famous town, famous city, Alexandria. So a big library was there and it was in flames, it was burning. Alifano then asked Borges if he could write a book on the history of the book. So Alifano asks Borges, can you write a book on the history of the book? Not anything else, about the history of the book. Then Borges agrees. He says, yes, it's a wonderful idea. It is an excellent idea. Though he doubted that whether he could do it at the age of 83. So now he is about 83 years old. He has become blind also. Whether he could write a book on the theme of books, on the history of the book. Then he says, refers to somebody else, Spengler. He is a German historian, philosopher, Spengler. In his book called Decline of the West. What is his book? Decline of the West predates his attempt. Has already written about the book, as he has written a remarkable comments on books. So immediately Borges refers to Spengler. Spengler has already tried this theme. He has written wonderful comments on the books. Then Alifano notes that Borges has quoted the words of Bernard Shaw. He refers to many of these famous people. Bernard Shaw, one of the greatest orators in the world. Bernard Shaw. So he tells about him and tells about one line from him, that is, every book worth being reread has been written by the Spirit. See, every book worth rereading has been written by the Spirit. That means you are reading a book. After the book is over, again you feel that you want to read once more. Such a kind of books are not written by a man. It is written by the Spirit, the inspiration of God. For example, books like Bible, Quran, Mahabharata, all these things, they are not written by normal people. They have been written by great people for the inspiration of God. That is why we read again and again. See, once people read Quran only once and then leave it. No, they start reading again and again. Bible also, we start reading again and again. That's what he says. George Bernard Shaw says this. What is that? Every book worth being reread has been written by the Spirit. And Borges concurs with this notion, agrees with this. Since a book goes beyond its author's intention, he adds that every book goes beyond the author's intention. Author might have written something. It is not the end. You can go beyond that. That is called open-ended stories. You can continue. You can change whatever the writer has written. Then the author's intention is a meager, fallible thing. Meager means small. It is a small idea. Fallible, which can be wrong. Fallible thing. In every book, there is a need for something more, which is always mysterious. Every book contains something more than what is there. And that is all mysterious. When we read an ancient book, suppose you take some old ancient books, what happens? It is as though we were reading all the time that has far passed from the day it was written to our present day. Just for example, the first lesson is on Romeo and Juliet. When we study about Romeo and Juliet poem, mind goes back to where? Olden days, when Romeo and Juliet were living, when Romeo was coming, Juliet had died, and the tomb of Juliet, in First PU itself, in the tourist place, one of the tourist places, the tomb of Juliet's tomb. So all this comes to our mind. That is what he says. The mind goes back from the day it was written to the present day. A book can be full of errors. There can be mistakes in the books. We may agree or disagree with the writer, but the book always retains something sacred, mortal, and magical, which brings happiness. It's very important. The book always contains something sacred, something mortal, and something magical. Next, Alifano asks Borges to define poetry. Very important to define poetry. See, Borges explained that poetry is something intimate, something essential, that it cannot be defined without oversimplifying it. Simply you cannot define poetry. It has to be oversimplified, and then only you can explain about poetry. It would be just like defining the color yellow, love, and the fall of leaves in autumn. See, Borges gives examples. One is the color yellow. Suppose if I say define yellow, you cannot define yellow. You can say this is yellow, that is yellow, but you can't give a definition of yellow. Similarly, love. You can't define love. It's very, very broad. You can only give examples. See, mother shows love to the children, children show love, husband, all these things we can explain. But you can't define love. And also, the fall of leaves in autumn. Autumn is the season. Just before winter. After summer, before winter, autumn comes. Then the leaves fall. Americans call it as the fall. Season itself, they don't call as autumn. They call as fall. So that also we can't define. Now, poetry is the aesthetic act. It's very important. It is an aesthetic act. Aesthetic act means feeling happiness in the senses. See, for example, I am teaching you this lesson. I am describing about Borges. Some people may like, some people may be bored, you may say it will be boring. So, whatever that feeling is inside, that is aesthetic feeling. Sometimes, your mother is cooking, beautiful smell is coming, and you just enjoy that. That is an aesthetic effect, aesthetic smell. And yesterday you have seen some good films, and you are just thinking about that, and songs are coming into your mouth. That is an aesthetic feeling, the pleasure of the senses it is. So here, when you read a poem, you get an aesthetic, it is an aesthetic act. It starts. A poem is nothing more than a series of symbols. Poem is different, poetry is different. Poem means what? The four lines, whatever it may be. That is a poem. But poetry cannot be defined. It gives an aesthetic act. Poetry is the poetic act. Poetry, the poetic act which takes place when the poet writes it and when the reader reads it. Very important. Poetry is a poetic act which starts when the writer is writing and continues when the reader is reading. This is a poetic act. When the poetic act takes place, we become aware of it. Suppose you start reading Romeo and Juliet and you feel you are almost in Italy, in the city of Verona, the two gentlemen of Verona. And then all comes back to your mind, those days, how they used to love, how she died, how he gave his life and all that. So, all things come into your mind and you have some sort of feeling. And that is the aesthetic feeling. Aesthetic feeling can be happiness or joy or sorrow, whatever it may be. And the aesthetic act begins when the poet starts writing and continues when the reader starts reading. And the reader is always aware of it. Poetry is magical, mysterious, and unexplainable, but not an incomprehensible event. Poetry is magical. Your second thing is mysterious. Sometimes you can't understand some things. And unexplainable. You can't explain properly everything. But not an incomprehensible event. What is incomprehensible event? Double negative again. That means it's quite comprehensible. You can understand. Comprehensible means understanding. It is not that you can't understand at all. If you are not understanding, read once more. If you are not understanding, read again once more, and definitely you will understand. That's what he says. Poetry is magical, mysterious, unexplainable, but not an incomprehensible event. If one does not feel the poetic event upon reading it, the poet has failed. Suppose you read a poem, you don't feel anything. Who has failed? The poet has failed. Next, Alifano asks about the importance of finding precise words in the poetry. One more thing is, poetry, what are the important words? Precise words, exact words are required. And Borges agrees that precise words elicit emotion. They only bring emotions. You can't simply write like stories. Important words are there, precise words. And then he quotes an important line in a poem by Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson is also a famous writer. The line is, "This quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies." This quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies. Quiet dust means dust of after death, the body is buried or burned. That is the dust here. That is only gentlemen and ladies. The idea of dust, that is the dust of death, it looks something awkward, but the phrase gentlemen and ladies, the phrase gentlemen and ladies gives a magic and a poetic quality. Now she doesn't say men and women. She says gentlemen and ladies. These two words give some emotion to the poetry. If she had written men and women, it would have failed in poetry. So this is an example how precise words elicit emotion. Next, Alifano asks Borges to expound on the concept of metaphors. In poetry, in writings, we have metaphors. Similes and metaphors are there. Borges says that metaphors exist from the beginning of time. From the beginning, even if you say old people, grandmother, they also use metaphors. They have a lot of metaphors. That means it has been from the beginning. He reduces all the metaphors into 5 or 6 essential metaphors. Very important. So, Borges brings about 5 or 6 essential metaphors. A lot of metaphors are there. He reduces them into 5 or 6. They are, number 1, time and river. Time and river. Time goes on without stop. River flows on. As long as there is water, it continues to flow. So this is a comparison. Life and a dream. See, life. See, life has got an end. Similarly, dream has also got an end. Dream means when you get up, the dream is gone. Similarly, life and dreams. Death and sleep. See, death. When you sleep, you are silent. When you die, you are silent, but only that is permanent sleep. Death and sleep. Stars and eyes. Stars. If you compare some ladies' eyes towards the stars, that means bright, shining. So stars and eyes. Flowers and women. Flowers and women. Women are soft, gentle. So they are compared to the flowers. So these are the essential metaphors found in almost all the literature. So Borges reduces the metaphors into 5 or 6. They are time and river, life and dreams, death and sleep, stars and eyes, flowers and women. Next, Alifano tells Borges that people speak of the disappearance of books, the modern electronic media, communications and all that. Day by day, books will start disappearing. So Alifano asks Borges, what is your view? What do you think about that? Then what Borges believes that books will never disappear. He says that books will never disappear in spite of the invention of modern methods of communications and gadgets and all that. Book is the most astounding invention of man. Man has invented many things. Among them, book is the most astounding invention of man. Then, all the others are extension of our bodies. For example, the telephone is the extension of our voice. See, what we speak, it goes through the telephone. It's an extension of the voice. The telescope and microscope are extensions of our sight, what we look. The same thing, microscope is helping. It is an extension of the eyes. A telescope also, we look far away through the telescope. That is an extension of the eye. And the sword and plow are extensions of our arms. A sword. Earlier man was fighting with the hand. Then he started holding the sword. But it is an extension of the hand only. Plow. Tilling the field. The farmer is plowing the field with the help of a plow. A neglu. And that also is an extension of the hand only. Only the book is an extension of our imagination memory. So book is the extension of our imagination and memory. So all things are extensions of some things. Now finally, Alifano tells Borges that in a memorable passage, Borges considers literature as a dream. Alifano tells him, sometimes you have told that life is a dream. Literature is a dream. And then Borges tells that literature is a dream. He believes that we owe literature, O-W-E, literature, everything we are, we have been, and what we will be. Everything. What the past, present and future. Everything. We owe everything to the literature. Suppose literature illa andre, medium illa andre, we will not know what Hitler did, what Shakespeare wrote, what people are doing now, and what will happen in the future. So all this is because of literature. So literature is a controlled dream. Then our past is nothing but a sequence of dreams. Whatever has happened, our past is nothing but a sequence of dreams. Now books are the great memory of all centuries. See, even old books we start taking and reading, they are only representing the memory of old activity. For example, First World War, Second World War, history, many things we read. Old books, they are the gift of the memory of all the centuries. Their function is irreplaceable. That means you cannot replace the book by something else. A student may take the laptop and whatnot, but even then he requires a book to refer, to read and all that. You can't go to the mosque and just take a computer and start reading Quran. No, book only is required. You can't go to the church and start taking out your mobile phone and reading the Bible. No, you have to read the Bible. You can't go to the temple and read no. That means the function of the book is irreplaceable. Finally, he concludes by saying, if books disappear, surely history would disappear. If books are not there, how would you know what Hitler did, what Shakespeare wrote, what Milton wrote, what Julius Caesar did? You cannot know. That means history will go. History would disappear. And surely man would disappear. If book disappear, history would disappear. And finally, man would disappear. This is how Borges concludes his interview. Rather, Alifano has interviewed Borges and the interview comes to an end with this. So it is very important. Every question he asks can be asked as a question in the exam. For example, starting, what was the views of Borges about his mother? What was his views on the books? What was his views on the poetry? What are the views on the metaphors, essential metaphors? Then finally, about the disappearance of books. Finally ask him whether books will disappear or not. Borges will says that books will never disappear in spite of all the modern inventions. If book disappears, history would disappear. And surely man would disappear. So with this, I am closing this video. Today we have given a summary, almost is a detailed summary. See, why I always give summary is, otherwise some people may not have the textbook. Some people will not be knowing. So when I start doing the text, you will have an idea of what we are doing. So in the next session, second video, I'll go to the text, half of the text one day and the other half another day, and you must understand very deeply. Otherwise, as you know, English is very easy to pass but very difficult to score. Please keep this in mind. People just neglect English. They study only PCMB or EBAC and they don't study English. Finally, the percentage is brought down. So don't neglect. When you come to the college, I'll just definitely say how far you have understood. Wherever you feel difficulties, we'll start clarifying. And this month, and Father has proposed to have Zoom app in order to clarify your doubts, so that you can directly, so that will be informed by the office, or Father will inform you. So this app, this month we have got some extra activity, that is for clarification of doubts, Zoom app is going to be used. Otherwise, lessons will be screen recorded like this only, and they're uploaded in the YouTube. And for this today's lesson, I have already uploaded one Google form, that is 10 questions of multiple choice only, no long answers. Only 15 days one test will be there. For languages, only 2 tests in a month, and that will be in exam pattern. As I gave you already 2 tests I have given you, we will have 1 mark, 4 marks, 6 marks and bit of grammar, whatever Father gives. Okay, so with this I am closing today's video. Thank you, and we'll see tomorrow.